Hello, welcome back. In this video, we're going to discuss tips and tricks for conquering chronic pain. Now, much like the previous video, the contents of this video are derived from real people that are living with chronic pain. Now, these tips and tricks are from a video that I watched. It is a program that is on an Australian government TV channel. So go ahead, I've linked the description, I've put the link in the description, so go have a look. The advantages of watching it before you watch my video is that you really get to have a sense of how the people feel and react from looking at their facial expressions and their body postures. So it's a lot more, how should I say it, a lot more real. But if you don't have time to watch it, that's fine. I've summarized most of the tips for you. Maybe you can go back to the video in another time. So head over, down, up, have a look at the video. The first case that we're going to discuss is going to be about Pete. Now, Pete is a former Australian Army military officer. He has told us that he has over 40 surgeries. And quite literally, he's had more surgeries than he can even count. So hundreds probably. Despite all the surgeries and all the injuries he's had, I think it's quite amazing that currently Pete is competing on an international level on a trike. He's also currently a counselor to help people that have been in a similar situation as he had been, dealing with their ordeals as well. The first tip that Pete has for us, that reminds yourself that there's going to be good days and there's going to be bad days. At first, when you're starting out with chronic pain, it is really going to feel like every day is a bad day and it's always painful. All the time. But later you'll notice that there will indeed be good days, that the pain isn't as bad, days that you're going to feel better, and days that you're going to be able to do more. So in my good days, I try and remind myself that bad days will eventually come. And one of the effects of this is that during my good days, I actually try and get more things done instead of wasting it. On my bad days, I remind myself again and again that the good days will eventually come. So that really helps my mood and to think positive. So this tip is really about being positive. I've discussed how positivity can create happiness in my previous video. So this tip is really about remaining positive. The second tip that Pete offered us is that learn to manage your bad times. So I think during bad times, it can affect you mentally. You might be a bit more panicky. You might have depressive thoughts. You might start to have some catastrophizing ideas and thoughts, and generally just feeling down. Or physically, during bad times, you might not be able to work, you might not be able to pick up your kids, you might not be able to do the dishes or cook dinner or whatnot. So figure a way to manage these issues. Perhaps when you are in a really bad place, headspace wise, what actions can you take to try and get to a better place? Maybe discuss an action plan, create an action plan with your doctor or with your therapist. In situations where you can't pick up your kids or you can't make dinner, have a plan in place to deal with these situations. So manage these bad times. So managing bad times is really about problem solving. And behind all of that is really about being proactive. I've discussed in the previous video that being proactive is part of creating happiness, the process of creating happiness. Being proactive allows you to control the pain and not let it control your life. The third tip that Pete has for us is that adapt and change your lifestyle to the pain. Now, if you're aware of the different stages of loss, this is really when the start of the stage where you reach acceptance. But I think more accurately, this is really more about using your wisdom. So let me explain. Wisdom and mindfulness are two faces on the same coin. Now you're mindful that your situation has changed, and now you adapt and you change your life accordingly to this change. So perhaps now, instead of getting cutleries, metal cutleries, you may need to use disposable cutlery so you don't need to wash up. Perhaps if you're unable to vacuum, perhaps you rip out the carpets, put in some wooden floors or tiles, and use a Roomba to do the vacuuming for you. And so apply this to your friends, your family, apply it to your work, apply it to your studies, apply it to your hobbies and your interests. As Bruce Lee once said, be like water, because water fills up any space that you put it into. Adapting is really about resilience. We discussed in the previous video that creating happiness requires you to be resilient and for you to practice enduring hardships. The fourth tip that Pete has for us is do things that make you happy and deal with the pain later. Don't even focus or entertain the pain. Now, this tip is really the one that put myself in the right direction. In the previous videos, my older videos, you might have heard me saying that my visit to the psychologist was the biggest turning point. My psychologist told me to go home and look for three things that I'm going to be able to, that's going to make me feel happy. Now, it's important to note that the happiness we're referring to are not the ones that derive from dopamine hits, such as when you're eating something delicious or when you're partying hard. Not those kind of happiness. You have to find happiness that you have a general well feeling about yourself, a general wellness of happy feeling. So when you start pursuing happiness, you become more happy. You use this to off-balance the pain and the struggles that you've been dealing with. So yeah, definitely one of the biggest tips. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you have learned a thing or two. A big thanks to Pete for sharing his insights with us. I think he deserves our admiration for what he has accomplished and has gone through. For me, one of the biggest things that he has done so far is becoming a counselor, giving back to the community, giving back and connecting with others. Definitely, I think, is one of the keys that has helped him through all of this. Thanks again for watching the video, and there will be a part 2, and I'll catch you then. Bye and take care.